What's up guys, today we're going over Odette's best weapons. I know this video was long overdue, but with everything that happened around the Cryo Traveler, yeah, I got pretty behind. Time to catch up. I stream every Tuesday, Thursday and Saturday on Kick, and if you find this video useful, please consider subscribing to my channel. For this video I had two ways I could rank these weapons. First was based on Odette's personal DPS, and the second was based on the team's overall DPS. I decided to go with total DPS, but which team? Zandrone's team. We'll be using the same percentage values as always, and later I will explain exactly what those numbers means, along with a few other things. All 5-star weapons are at R1, all 4-star weapons are at R5, and our baseline is Finale of the Deep, Fontaine's craftable sword, which we will use as our 100% reference. At number 9 we have pretty tricky Fleuve Cendre Ferremen, Fontaine's fishing sword. It gives energy recharge and crit rate for all your elemental skill, plus a little extra energy recharge on top of that. It's obviously nothing incredible, but it comes in at 99.07% of our baseline. I mean, we can just call it 99%, right? Right? At number 8, we have Amberwell, Snieżnaja new craftable sword. We haven't covered this weapon on the channel yet, but I did go over it during one of my Kick streams. We sometimes get ahead of things over there. Its secondary stat is Elemental Mastery, and whenever the wielder triggers a reaction, it grants attack. On top of that, triggering the Stellar Conduct reaction also increases the wielder's Stellar Conduct damage. Both the attack buff and the Stellar Conduct damage buff last for 12 seconds, and both effects can be triggered while the character is off field. It sounds really good on paper, but that's about it. There is a reason it's only number 8. The Elemental Mastery secondary stat is what really holds it back, leaving it at 99.5% of our baseline. At number 7 we have Harbinger of Dawn, the 3-star weapon with a huge amount of crit but low base attack. In Odette's case, that's actually pretty nice because she spent most of her time off field, making it much easier to keep her passive crit rate bonus active. It reaches 99.8% of our baseline. At number 6 we have our baseline weapon, Finale of the Deep. You guys already know how this one works. This assumes you can heal yourself, which you definitely can if you're using someone like Titsi or even Alosha. The idea is to use your elemental skill, swap out, heal up, then switch back to Odette, use her elemental burst and activates the second cast of her elemental skill. It's a small change to the rotation to let the weapon work, but it's obviously not the most practical setup. Even so, it sits at exactly 100% of our reference. At number 5 we have Atame Artis, a 5-star weapon that gives the wielder attack and crit, while also increasing the attack of the active character. Zandrone actually makes decent use of that, well, sort of. The team DPS reaches 101%. Yeah, the difference are ridiculously small so far, but I will explain why once we get to the end. At number 4 we have Urak Misiri, Fiori's signature 5-star weapon. Honestly, this is basically what you do expect from a generic 5-star option here. It really doesn't offer anything unique for Odette beyond its massive crit stat. That brings the team's DPS up to 101.1% of our baseline. At number 3 we have Ashulite, Skirk's signature 5-star weapon. It's mainly here because of its high base attack and extra crit, the part of the passive that grants additional stats while you are at 0 energy. Completely irrelevant for Odette. She gets nothing out of it. Even so, the team's DPS reaches 101.2% of our baseline. I'm not trolling you guys, we're flying through these rankings. At number 2 we have a weapon that somehow always manages to surprise people, Primordial Jet Cutter. The huge amount of crit it provides, along with the bonus attack based on the wielder's max HP, pushes the team's DPS up to 102.4% of our baseline. It might not look like a big jump, but it actually pulls ahead a little more than the previous weapons. And finally, at number 1, we have Odette's signature weapon, White Lake Frost Feather. It's like 4 words in 2. It grants additional attack, energy, and a massive stellar damage bonus to the wielder, even while they are off-field. With this weapon, the team's DPS reaches 103.8% of our baseline. Now, you're probably wondering, Pollo, why are the differences so small? Well, it's because Zandrone and Yaemiko already make up such a large portion of the team's total damage that increasing Odette's personal DPS doesn't have a huge impact on the team's overall DPS. As you can see, this entire ranking only goes from 99% to 103.8%, making it pretty clear that Odette's signature weapon isn't a priority when it comes to the whole team's damage. But the point is that the gap between each weapon becomes larger if Odette's damage contribution is larger. Even then though, it's pretty clear that Odette's weapon shouldn't be your top priority if you're only looking for more DPS. Maybe someone else's constellation might be worth more. Still, this was the universal ranking. And that's it, everyone. Let's not make this video any longer than it needs to be. Thanks for watching and stay tuned for the next video. See you in the next one.